still remember the shock of finding that positive pregnancy test in our bathroom trash. For a moment, I felt this surge of joy, thinking Stephanie, my fiancée of 6 months, was carrying our child. That beautiful dream shattered when I discovered the truth. She was pregnant with my younger brother Marcus's baby. But the ultimate betrayal, my father not only forgave them, but rewarded their affair by handing Marcus both our family construction business and the house I had been saving for. Before I tell you how I turned the tables on all of them, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and hit subscribe to follow this unbelievable journey to justice. Our family company, Lancaster Construction, had been the pride of Boston's development scene for over 30 years. My father Harold built it from nothing, turning a small residential contractor into one of the most respected commercial builders in New England. As his firstborn, I had worked tirelessly for 8 years, climbing from project coordinator to operations director. Every day was about proving I deserved to inherit what Dad had built. Then there was Marcus, my brother, younger by 5 years. While I was learning blueprints and budgets, Marcus was partying through college on Dad's dime. He would occasionally show up at company events, charm everyone with stories about his travels or latest hobby, and disappear again. Dad always laughed it off. "Your brother is finding himself." He never held Marcus to the same standards as me, always making excuses when he dropped out of programs or needed financial bailouts. I met Stephanie at the Riverfront Tower project, where she worked as the lead architect. Our first interaction was actually an argument over ceiling heights in the lobby, but something about her passion caught my attention. After the meeting, I asked her to coffee so we could find a compromise. That coffee turned into dinner, and soon we were spending every weekend together. Stephanie came from a challenging background, putting herself through architecture school while supporting her mother. I admired her drive. When she struggled with student loans affecting her credit score, I helped her refinance and get on better financial footing. After 2 years together, I proposed at the top of Mount Washington during a weekend hiking trip. She cried when I slipped the ring on her finger, and I thought my life was perfectly on track. The first signs that something was off appeared about 6 months after our engagement. Stephanie started working later, often not returning my texts until hours later. When I mentioned wedding venues or dates, she would change the subject or claim she was too tired to discuss it. I chalked it up to a demanding project she was leading. Around the same time, Marcus suddenly developed an interest in the family business. He started showing up at the office, unannounced, sitting in on meetings he previously would have avoided, like the plague. Dad was thrilled, saying it was about time Marcus took an interest in his inheritance. The way he said it made me uneasy, as if Marcus had an equal claim despite my years of dedication. One evening, my father invited us all for dinner at his house. Me, Stephanie, Marcus, and himself. Throughout the meal, I noticed something strange in how Stephanie and Marcus interacted. They barely spoke to each other, almost deliberately so, but I caught them exchanging glances when they thought no one was looking. When I asked Marcus about his sudden interest in construction, Dad jumped in. "Your brother has good instincts, Julius. Sometimes I wonder if you overthink things too much." The comment stung, and I saw something like satisfaction flicker across Marcus's face. Stephanie squeezed my hand under the table, but it felt performative rather than comforting. Determined to save whatever was happening to my relationship, I planned a romantic weekend in Vermont. I found a charming bed and breakfast, made reservations at the restaurant where we had celebrated our first anniversary, and even arranged for a couple's massage. When I presented the idea to Stephanie, she looked panicked rather than pleased. "I cannot get away right now, Jules," she said, not meeting my eyes. "The West Side project is at a critical phase. You work every weekend. One time won't hurt," I countered. "Maybe next month," she replied, already walking away. That night, while Stephanie was showering, her phone lit up with a message. I had never been the jealous, snooping type, but something compelled me to look. The notification showed only, "We need to talk about telling Jay." The sender was listed simply as M. I put the phone down, feeling sick to my stomach, but still unwilling to believe what was becoming increasingly obvious. 3 weeks after that dinner, I came home early from a site visit that had been canceled. Our apartment was empty, but as I passed the bathroom, I noticed something in the trash. A pregnancy test with 2 clear pink lines. My heart raced with conflicting emotions. Was Stephanie pregnant? Why had she hidden this from me? For a brief, beautiful moment, I imagined us as parents, the family we had talked about building together, but something felt wrong. If this was our baby, why would she hide the test? Why had she been so distant? The questions multiplied until I could no longer ignore the suspicion growing in my mind. That evening, Stephanie texted that she would be working late again. Instead of replying, I got in my car and drove to her office building. Her car was gone from its usual spot. On a hunch, I opened the location sharing app we had set up for safety when traveling. The map showed her not at the office, but across town at Bellini's, an Italian restaurant we had never visited together. I drove there, parking across the street with a clear view of the entrance. At 8:30, I spotted Stephanie walking in, wearing a dress I had never seen before. 20 minutes later, Marcus pulled up in his Audi, checked his hair in the rearview mirror, and headed inside. My entire body went cold. I sat there, unable to move, as rain began to spatter against the windshield. I should have driven away, confronted them, done something, but I remained frozen, watching the restaurant entrance, as if witnessing a car crash in slow motion. Nearly 2 hours later, they emerged together under one umbrella. The streetlight illuminated them clearly, as Marcus put his arm around her waist, pulled her close, and kissed her. Not a friendly peck, but the intimate kiss of lovers. Then, the moment that confirmed my worst fears, Marcus placed his hand gently on Stephanie's stomach, saying something that made her smile and lean into him. Before they separated, I saw Marcus hand her something. A small envelope. She opened it, covered her mouth in what appeared to be delight, and embraced him again. Only when they had driven away in separate cars did I finally start my engine hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the steering wheel. I arrived home before Stephanie and waited in the dark living room. When she finally entered humming to herself, I switched on the lamp. On the coffee table in front of me, I had placed the pregnancy test and my phone, displaying the photo I had taken of them outside the restaurant. Julius, she gasped, dropping her purse. You scared me. What are you doing sitting in the dark? When were you going to tell me? I asked, my voice unnaturally calm. Her eyes darted to the items on the table, and her expression shifted from surprise to resignation. I was going to tell you this weekend, she said, making no attempt to deny anything. Tell me what exactly, that you are pregnant with my brother's baby, that you have been sleeping with him. How long? Stephanie. She sat down across from me, suddenly looking very tired. 8 months. The timeline hit me like a physical blow. 8 months. We got engaged 7 months ago. It started at our engagement party, she admitted, and I remembered how Marcus had offered to drive her home when I stayed behind to help Dad with his medication. I never meant for it to happen, but there was always this connection between us. Connection, I echoed in disbelief. You betrayed me with my own brother, and you call it a connection. We fell in love, Julius, she said, and the lack of remorse in her voice was what finally broke me. Marcus understands me in a way you never did. What is this? I asked, pointing to the envelope peeking from her purse, identical to the one I had seen Marcus give her. Her hand moved protectively to her bag. Ultrasound pictures. I stood up, unable to remain in the same room any longer. Get your things and get out. You have until tomorrow afternoon. Julius, be reasonable. Where am I supposed to go? To Marcus, I said. To your true connection. The next morning, I drove to my father's house, desperate for the support of the one person who had always been my rock. I found him in his study, looking grave. Dad, I need to talk to you about something serious, I began. Marcus called me last night, he interrupted. He told me everything. Relief washed over me. Then you understand why I am here. I need Julius. He cut me off again. These things happen. People fall in love in unexpected ways. I stared at him, uncomprehending. What are you saying? My fiancée cheated on me with my brother, and you are acting like it is a minor inconvenience. Marcus said you threatened Stephanie, forced her out of her home. Our home paid for with my money. She is carrying his child. Dad Harold stood up, walking to the window. Which is exactly why we need to handle this maturely. Marcus and Stephanie are going to be parents. Your brother is stepping up, taking responsibility. Taking responsibility would have been keeping his hands off my fiancée. I shouted, losing my composure entirely. Enough, my father slammed his hand on the desk. What is done is done. Now we must move forward. Forward. How I am supposed to just forgive and forget. I have been thinking about the company, he said. Changing direction so abruptly, I felt dizzy. About succession plans. A terrible suspicion began to form. What about them? Marcus has shown real interest in Lancaster lately. He has fresh ideas, connections with younger developers. Marcus knows nothing about construction, I argued. He has never completed a single project. He is a quick learner, and now with a baby coming, he needs stability, a clear path forward. I could not believe what I was hearing. Are you saying what I think you are saying? I am naming Marcus as the next CEO of Lancaster Construction, he stated flatly, effective immediately. The room seemed to tilt around me. I have given 8 years of my life to this company. I have worked 60-hour weeks, learned every aspect of the business, built relationships with clients who trust me. And you will keep your job, Julius, just not as CEO. Under Marcus, my younger brother who slept with my fiancée, who has zero experience. This decision is final, Harold said, with the stubbornness I had once admired. There is one more thing. The house on Maple Street that you have been saving for. My blood ran cold. I had been putting money aside for 3 years to buy that property. A beautiful craftsman home that would have been perfect for the family Stephanie and I planned to start. I am giving it to Marcus and Stephanie as a wedding present, he finished. They will need the space for the baby. Something broke inside me then. The last thread of connection to the family I thought I had. You cannot be serious. They are getting married next month. Small ceremony. It would mean a lot to all of us if you could find it in your heart to attend. I walked out without another word. Got in my car and drove until the gaslight came on. By evening, I had rented a small apartment across town and begun the process of extracting myself from what remained of my old life. For the first 2 weeks, I barely functioned. I called in sick to Lancaster, knowing I could never work there again, but unable to formally resign. I ignored calls from everyone, drank too much whiskey, and slept at odd hours. The betrayal consumed me, playing on repeat in my mind. Stephanie's emotionless confession, my father's casual dismissal of my pain, Marcus's smug satisfaction. On day 15 of my self-imposed exile, my college friend Dave showed up unannounced, having gotten my new address from the property management company through a connection. You look like hell, he said, stepping into my Spartan apartment. Feel worse, I muttered. Dave cleaned up while I showered, then made us both coffee spiked with bourbon. Talk, he commanded. I unloaded everything. The affair, the pregnancy, my father's betrayal, the loss of my position, and the house I had saved for. Dave listened, without interruption, his expression growing darker. When I finished, he asked one question. What are you going to do about it? What can I do? They have taken everything. Bullshit, Dave said sharply. They took your job and your girl, not your brain or your experience. Lancaster was successful because of you, not your dad, not Marcus. His words penetrated the fog of my depression. Marcus will run it into the ground within a year. Exactly. So the question is, will you be there to pick up the pieces, or will you have built something better by then? That conversation marked the turning point. The next day, I took inventory of what I still had, considerable savings, minus what I had spent on an engagement ring and house, down payment, extensive industry knowledge, and relationships with clients, suppliers, and skilled workers who respected me. I began investigating Marcus's sudden rise at Lancaster. Through former colleagues who remained loyal to me, I discovered Marcus had exaggerated his business education, claiming an MBA he had never completed. He had also presented my project proposals to our father as his own, including a comprehensive plan for the Westfield development, Lancaster's biggest potential contract in years. The Westfield project was a $30 million mixed-use development that would transform an old industrial area into retail and residential space. Landing it would secure Lancaster's future for years, and now it would be Marcus's first major project as CEO. Within a month, I had incorporated Phoenix Construction, secured a small office space, and begun quietly reaching out to industry contacts. Angela Rodriguez, Lancaster's brilliant structural engineer who had been overlooked for promotion repeatedly under my father's leadership, was my first hire. She brought with her detailed knowledge of Lancaster's bidding strategies and technical specifications. Marcus tried to explain load-bearing calculations to the team yesterday, she told me over coffee. He got everything wrong, and when someone corrected him, he fired them on the spot. Who did he fire? I asked. Bill Jenkins. 20 years with the company. Bill became my second hire, bringing 3 skilled foremen with him. My legal team discovered a potential issue with the Westfield contract. Lancaster had won the bid, partly based on the promise of specific project leadership, namely me. With my departure, Westfield might have grounds to reconsider their choice of contractor. Armed with this information, I arranged a meeting with James Westfield himself, the 4th-generation CEO of Westfield Development. We met at his club, away from curious eyes. Julius. He greeted me warmly. I was surprised when you left Lancaster so abruptly. Your father gave some vague explanation about personal reasons. Personal and professional, I replied. I have started my own firm, Phoenix Construction. I would like to discuss the River District project with you. That contract has been signed with Lancaster, he said, though I noted he did not shut down the conversation. With Lancaster under specific leadership assumptions that no longer apply, I countered. I was the primary contact on that bid, James. My brother has no experience managing a project of this magnitude. Westfield studied me carefully. What are you proposing? Phoenix can deliver the same quality with a 15% cost reduction and a more aggressive timeline. We are leaner hungry to prove ourselves and staffed by Lancaster's best former talent. Bold claims for a company that did not exist a month ago. I have been in this business for 8 years. The only thing that changed is the name on my business card. James leaned back, considering. Harold is an old friend. I cannot simply pull the contract without cause. I am not asking you to. Give Lancaster the chance to deliver. But when problems arise, and they will, remember this conversation, and you are certain there will be problems. Marcus fired Bill Jenkins last week for correcting a basic engineering mistake. Bill worked on 6 of your past projects. Westfield's eyebrows shot up. He fired Bill. That man is the most reliable superintendent in Boston. He works for Phoenix now, I said with a slight smile, along with Angela Rodriguez and several others who refused to work under Marcus's leadership style. We parted with an understanding Westfield would honor the contract with Lancaster, but watch closely for any issues. Meanwhile, I would position Phoenix to step in if necessary. I did not have to wait long. Within 2 months, the Westfield project was already behind schedule and over budget. Marcus had approved incorrect material orders, mismanaged the permit process, and alienated the architectural team with his arrogance. Several key Lancaster employees resigned, many finding their way to Phoenix. Through Angela's connections, I learned my father had leveraged significant assets to secure the performance bond for the Westfield project. If Lancaster failed to deliver, the financial repercussions would be devastating. The crisis point came when Westfield issued a formal warning to Lancaster about project delays. Marcus panicked, throwing money at the problem by approving expensive rush orders and overtime that the budget could not sustain. Harold finally called an emergency meeting with their lenders and key project stakeholders. Through a banking contact, I received an invitation as a potential solution provider. Walking into Lancaster's conference room for the first time since my departure felt surreal, especially seeing Marcus's name on my old office door. The atmosphere was tense. Westfield representatives looked grim, the bank officers concerned. Marcus sat beside our father, both appearing exhausted. Stephanie was absent now, 7 months pregnant. Gentlemen, I began when asked to speak, I believe I can offer a solution that protects everyone's interests. I outlined a partnership. Phoenix would take over project management of the Westfield development, bringing back key personnel familiar with the plans. Lancaster would remain the contractor of record maintaining their relationship with Westfield. "This is outrageous," Marcus sputtered. "You are trying to steal our contract." "I am trying to save it." I corrected him. "The project is 8 weeks behind schedule, with cost overruns approaching $2 million. The bank is considering calling in the performance bond, which would bankrupt Lancaster." "What are your terms?" my father asked quietly, ignoring Marcus's continued objections. "Phoenix takes 60% ownership of Lancaster. I return as CEO. Marcus steps down to a non-executive role until he gains proper experience." "Absolutely not," Marcus shouted. "Dad, you cannot let him do this." Harold looked every one of his 68 years as he turned to the Westfield representative. "What do you think?" "We need this project back on track," the man replied. "From our perspective, Julius Lancaster returning to lead the project would restore confidence." "And the bank," my father asked the loan officer. "We would look favorably on this arrangement given Mr. Lancaster's track record with similar projects." The fight left Marcus visibly, his shoulders slumping in defeat. My father nodded slowly. The proud man I had known all my life finally humbled. "We accept your terms," he said simply. As everyone filed out, Marcus approached me. "This is not over," he hissed. "Stephanie and I are none of my concern," I finished for him. "This is business, Marcus. Something you should have learned before trying to take what you did not earn." Later that day, Stephanie called me repeatedly. I blocked her number. Through mutual friends, I heard she was distraught, telling people Marcus had changed since taking over the company, becoming controlling and short-tempered. She had realized too late what she had sacrificed for a fantasy that never existed. I felt no satisfaction in her regret, only a determination to rebuild what had been broken, on my terms this time. Within 6 months, I had transformed Lancaster Phoenix Construction into the most efficient operation it had ever been. The Westfield project was back on schedule, completed with only a minor cost overrun that I personally absorbed. James Westfield was so impressed that he offered us first consideration on their next major development. Marcus was relegated to managing small residential projects where his mistakes would be contained and correctable. He performed adequately once he accepted his position and stopped trying to undermine me. The baby, a boy named Edward, was born healthy, and while I maintained my distance, I established a trust fund for him. Whatever my feelings toward his parents, the child was innocent. My father and I established a new working relationship. The easy trust between us was gone, replaced by a cautious professional respect. One evening, after everyone else had left the office, he asked to speak with me privately. "I owe you an apology," he began, the words clearly difficult for him. "I failed you as a father and as a business partner." "Why did you do it?" I asked the question that had haunted me for months. "Why choose him over me every time?" Harold sighed heavily. Marcus reminded me of myself. Impulsive, charismatic, always in need of saving. You were always so capable, so independent. I never worried about you. I see now that was unfair. It nearly destroyed everything you built, I pointed out. Yes, he admitted. And you saved it despite how deeply I hurt you. I do not expect forgiveness, Julius, but I hope in time we might rebuild some kind of relationship. I did not answer immediately, letting the silence stretch between us. "We can try," I finally said. "One day at a time." It was not a Hollywood reconciliation, but it was honest. We would never again have blind faith in each other, but perhaps we could build something stronger in its place. As for my personal life, I had learned painful lessons about trust and betrayal, but I refused to let those experiences harden me completely. Through a sustainable building initiative, I met Maya, an environmental engineer, with a straightforward manner and uncompromising integrity. We began with professional collaboration that gradually evolved into friendship and eventually more. I was transparent with Maya about my past, and she appreciated my honesty. "Everyone has baggage," she told me. "What matters is how you carry it." Our relationship developed slowly, built on mutual respect rather than the intense passion that had characterized my time with Stephanie. I came to appreciate the quiet strength of genuine connection over the drama of what I had mistaken for love. Marcus surprisingly underwent his own transformation. The responsibilities of fatherhood seemed to mature him in ways nothing else had. He approached his work with newfound seriousness, asking questions instead of making assumptions. 6 months after Edward's birth, he requested a meeting with me. "I know I can never undo what I did," he said without preamble, "but I want to apologize anyway. I betrayed you in the worst possible way out of jealousy and selfishness." "What do you want from me, Marcus?" I asked. "Too weary for games." "Nothing," he answered. "You have already been more generous than I deserve with Edward's trust fund. I just want you to know that I understand what I destroyed, and I regret it every day." I did not offer forgiveness. Some things remain beyond that, but I did offer a path forward. Prove it through your actions. Be a good father. Learn the business properly. Rebuild your integrity brick by brick. That is all I ask. The most profound lesson I learned through all of this was that true success comes not from revenge, but from building something authentic and worthwhile. When I lost everything, I discovered my own value separate from my family name or position. The company I rebuilt was stronger than before because it was founded on genuine merit rather than inheritance. Losing Stephanie and the life I had planned was painful, but it forced me to question what I truly wanted rather than following expected paths. The relationships I developed afterward, professional and personal, were chosen more carefully, valued more deeply. Today, Lancaster Phoenix is breaking ground on our most ambitious project yet, an eco-friendly community development that combines Maya's environmental expertise with my construction knowledge. My father serves as an advisor, his experience still valuable when tempered with new perspectives. Marcus continues his gradual redemption, earning respect through consistent effort rather than entitlement. As for Stephanie, she and Marcus eventually separated. She reached out one final time, suggesting we might reconnect, but some bridges cannot and should not be rebuilt. Instead, I wish her well from a distance, grateful for the harsh lessons that ultimately set me free. What happened to me was a betrayal of the worst kind, but it led to an unexpected gift. The chance to build a life that was truly mine, founded on my own values rather than inherited expectations. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to discover what you really need. Have you ever experienced betrayal that ultimately led to a better path? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. Your support means everything as we navigate these complex human journeys together. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes what feels like an ending is actually the first page of a better story.